Hey, this is Phil Lilley, Lilleys Landing Resort and Marina on Lake Taneycomo. We're going to do one cast today. Got Jackson again today. The sun is setting. It's going down pretty quick. We're in shade behind the bluff. Dino's house is right here. Fall Creek is up about a quarter mile. They're running about 40 megawatts of water, about 3,300 CFS, which is about, what is it, between half and 1 unit. It's like they've been running all week. I've got the same rig I had on last night, but I've got a sculpin jig with an orange head. Jet ski, about 3.5 foot deep. It's a 1/125th ounce PJ's jig. I'm gonna fish it about 4 foot deep. There is no midging going on yet this evening. There was some down by my place, so I thought it'd be good to come up here and just drift this section of lake. Instead of going down by my place, I just thought this might be a little better. It is Friday the 2nd of October. Okay, get the boat going about the same speed as the current. I've got some 6X tippet tied on to the end of this 4-pound line. I've got a hard float. It's a carrot float that we sell in the shop. It's the biggest float that we have as far as this carrot float. There's not any chop on the water per se, so I'll be moving my float just a little bit to give it some action. Somebody is power washing, I believe. There's always a lawnmower, a leaf blower, power washer, somebody roughing, something going on. Seems like when I do one cast, well, I'm going the wrong way again. I didn't go down to the dock much today. Dwayne said they were catching fish drifting out in front of the resort all day. Probably, well, I know on power bait and night crawlers. I did take a boat ride. Took Caleb and the grandkids down for a boat ride down, feed the ducks at the landing, and we boated on down to Blue Haven, down in that area. And I noticed a lot of, there's a lot of pondweed, a lot of trash on the surface down there. It doesn't look too great, but there's a lot of trout surfacing down there. And there is a dock. It's one of the last docks on the left before you get to Bee Creek. It's kind of crossed from Blue Haven Lake Shore. And there's a big boat there, belongs to Missouri Department of Conservation, and they stock fish from that boat. It's got 2 big engines on it. Nothing's hitting this jig, and I'm starting to get impatient. I got about the right depth. Pretty close to the bottom. No fish on one cast. I'm going to check the jig and throw back out. I can only stand so much of this, and then I'll have to throw a jig. No, that's a blower. It's not a power washer. There are a lot of fish surfacing in the middle of the lake, and especially over by that dock, and there were people fishing around that dock, and they were catching a lot of fish. So what's happened is they have stocked down in that area, probably not from that boat, but probably off that boat ramp right next to the dock where that boat sits. So if you're down here fishing tomorrow, that might be a good place to check out. Now, I did hear also that the fish that they've stocked here lately have been a little bit on the small side. So if you don't want to mess around with small fish, you might not want to go down there. There is a midge hatch going on, which there's usually a midge hatch almost every evening. But the trout are not hitting the surface at all. Okay. Again, I just kind of get impatient. And pretty shallow water here, probably 3 feet. It's all right. I brought with me one of our old 6-foot, is it a 6? No, it's a 5/6 Lilleys rod. And black and yellow 32nd ounce jig with 2-pound line. So I'm going to throw that for a little bit. I got some logs coming up here I'm going to have to dodge. See if these fish want to chase. I have to move just a little bit. That looked like a bite. Still a lot of junk in the water, not a lot, but noticing some floating algae and a little bit of pondweed. There's a lot of pondweed downstream, both along the banks and floating. These fish are not wanting to chase either. Slow it down just a little bit. Yeah, that's a fish. My line went slack. It is a little fish. That's not bad. It's a stalker. It's actually pretty rainbow. Just not very big. My line went slack And when I set the hook, the fish is so small, I didn't feel it. Plus this rod, it's not my favorite jig rod. Some people like these little short, flimsy rods. Ooh, yeah, that was a good bite. And it's okay, I just prefer to use something has a little bit more backbone. Especially in setting the hook. I'm out in the middle of the lake now, so I'm in pretty deep water. So I'm gonna let it sink a little bit more. I'm going to move a little bit more to the shallow side. If you watch one cast enough, you know that I get really impatient watching a float. They're not hitting it, I'm not throwing it. I'd rather throw something I can work, and then if I'm not catching anything, at least I'm doing something. Cardinals play tonight. In fact, they should be already started. I'm wondering if they're going to continue this 16 team format from now on the playoffs. I think if teams like the Cubs get knocked out in the first round, that might not bode well for continuing. There's one. Continuing the format. I think they are the number 2 seed. Another stalker. My buddy Roland Duffield is here from Kansas City. Came in today. He's here for a week. Roland's been fishing this lake for, well, since the 60s. He's here with his, I think his 2 brothers. And he is responsible for the Peppy Scud. So I'll be giving in some fishing reports. Dwayne said he talked to him and he said he caught some fish on scuds in the trophy area today, this afternoon. Did okay, he said. Goes one of my boats. I did notice that table rock's getting down close to 914. That's a foot below power pool. Also saw Bull Shoals is within, I think, 5 feet of its part pool. But it's dropping 6 inches a day. They're running close to 15,000 CFS down on the White River. Oh, that might have been a bite. I can still see my line just a little bit. I'm gonna go down to the boat ramp. I'm not gonna quite get down to Short Creek. Gonna run out of daylight. Oops. Comes Steve Dickey. Getting hard to see now. Got one more cast left, and I'll be at the boat ramp. The oxygen's staying about 6, so the oxygen's holding up really good. Water temp's not going up. I noticed on the White River, the DO's at 4, and their temperature's going up. It's at 59 now. Is that a fish? The line went slack twice in a row. I got a little moss on there. Okay, one more. I'm right at the ramp. All right, 2 fish. Nothing on the jig and float. There's a rise. That's the first rise I've seen. So maybe they are going to start coming up and eating midges right at dark. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.